it's baseball season, and with baseball season comes baseball injuries.
Yes, torn rotator cuffs are a common injury in not only baseball but many sports, but not as common as you might think. News Channel 18's Elizabeth Rentschler joins us now with more on why that is. Elizabeth?
Jeff, Gina, professional baseball pitchers can throw a fastball up to 100 miles an hour or more, but it turns out you are actually more likely to tear your rotator cuff than they are. When you think of a torn rotator cuff, you might often think of athletes, but you might be surprised to find out that's not who tears their rotator cuff most often.
What we'll see around here, we'll see a rotator cuff tear like this gentleman has in somebody who works. Their arms out front or overhead, doing repetitive things every day, heavy lifting, a lot of forceful usage of the shoulder. Baseball pitchers, football quarterbacks can tear the rotator cuff, but not quite as often.
Denny Connor is a chemistry teacher at Delphi High School and says his shoulder has been bothering him for a couple of years. He says the wear and tear over the years makes it hard to play with his grandson, and with another grandchild on the way, he knew it was time to get the surgery.
You don't want him to leave, but sometimes when he leaves you think, oh, I see why, because your shoulder's sore and you've been doing too many things with him that probably shouldn't have done. The wrestling and the lifting and the whatever else, the chasing and things of this sort.
But Connor's not alone. Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Robert Hagan says a torn rotator cuff is one of the most common surgeries he performs.
I do probably 3 or 4 rotator cuff repairs a week.
Dr. Hagan says the rotator cuff muscles are what moves the arm up, down, and around. He says over time, raising your arm up and down can cause bones, or spurs, to form from continuous pressure in that area. Dr. Hagan says that's exactly what happened to Connor.
So he has a tear of that muscle right there. When he goes to lift his arm up, this is not connected to that like it should be.
Dr. Hagan says in order to repair the cuff, he must first remove the spurs and trim off the undersurface of the bone. He says they then place an anchor down inside of the bone and sew the rotator cuff muscle back to the bone. The surgery itself only takes about half an hour, and patients will usually have to complete about 6 weeks of therapy. And while Connor begins to heal, Dr. Hagan finds his next patient, News Channel 18 videographer Jamie Long.
Carrying a video camera on your shoulder for your whole adult life.
That might do it. That might do it. You probably are a setup to have a rotator cuff problem. So.
Dr. Hagan says you don't necessarily have to have your rotator cuff repaired. He says many choose to just participate in therapy until it feels better. However, if it doesn't get better over a few years, he says surgery is most likely going to be your best option. Elizabeth Rentschler, News Channel 18.
Elizabeth, thank you. Poor Jamie might be looking at surgery.
Let's treat him cautiously.
We should.